the moment you realize love was never about possession. It often arrives in silence. Not the silence of an empty room, but the deafening quiet that follows a storm you've been weathering for years. It's the stillness after the last tear has fallen, the final argument has echoed into nothingness, and the hands that once clung so tightly are now open, empty, and strangely calm. In that quiet, a truth lands. Softly, without fanfare, but with the weight of 1,000 lifetimes. Love was never a thing to be held. It was never a contract, a promise, or a cage. It was never about ownership, about mine and yours. The moment you realize this, the entire universe rearranges itself around you. The chains you thought were binding you to another were never held by them. They were held by you, and the key was always in your own pocket. This realization doesn't feel like a victory at first. It feels like a loss, a profound, hollow ache where a battle used to be. You were fighting so hard to keep something, to protect it, to ensure it would never leave. You built walls around a person, a feeling, an idea of forever. You called it love, but it was fear dressed in devotion's clothing. Fear of abandonment, fear of being unseen, fear of facing the vastness of your own soul without a hand to hold. You believed that if you loved them enough, if you were perfect enough, if you anticipated their every need, you could secure their presence in your life forever. You made their happiness your responsibility, their pain your own, their journey your singular focus. In doing so, you handed them the reins to your own emotional world. Their smile was your sun. Their frown was your winter. You orbited them like a planet, forgetting you were a star in your own right, capable of generating your own light. The world teaches us a distorted version of love. It's in the songs we hear, the movies we watch, the stories we're told. A narrative of two halves becoming whole, of finding your other half to complete you. This story, while romantic, is a spiritual trap. It sets us on a desperate external quest for a feeling of wholeness that can only ever be cultivated within. It turns another human being into a solution for our own inner emptiness. And when you make someone a solution, you inadvertently make them a prisoner. You need them to be a certain way, to say certain things, to never change, to never grow beyond the role you've assigned them. You love the reflection of yourself you see in their eyes, the validation they provide, the security their presence offers. But is that love for them, or is it love for what they give you? The moment of clarity often comes when the person you've been holding onto finally pulls away. Not because they are cruel, but because their soul demands its own journey. A soul cannot be owned. It cannot be contained. It will always eventually seek its own freedom, its own truth, its own expansion. Their departure feels like a betrayal, a catastrophic failure. You replay every moment, searching for the mistake you made, the point where you weren't enough. You believe that if you had just been better, prettier, smarter, more understanding, they would have stayed. You torture yourself with the illusion of control, believing their choice was a referendum on your worth. But their journey was never about you. It was about them. And your pain is not about their leaving. It is about the collapse of the structure you built around them, the identity you forged in their presence, the future you wrote with their name on every page. When the dust of that collapse settles, you are left with yourself, raw, exposed, and utterly alone. And it is in this sacred, terrifying solitude that the real work begins. The journey back to the self you abandoned. You start to notice the small things. The way the sunlight filters through the leaves of a tree. The taste of your morning coffee. The sound of your own laughter, unprompted by another's joke. These moments are whispers from your own soul, reminding you of a life that exists entirely outside the context of another person. You were a complete universe long before you met them, and you remain a complete universe now. You had simply forgotten. You had outsourced your sense of wonder, your sense of joy, your sense of peace. To love without possession is to become a gardener, not a gatekeeper. You learn to tend to your own garden first. You pull the weeds of insecurity. You water the seeds of self-worth. and you turn your face to the sun of your own inner guidance. You understand that your job is not to build a fence around another person's garden, but to cultivate your own so deeply, so beautifully, that its fragrance invites others to walk alongside you for a while. They are free to stay, and they are free to go. Their presence is a gift, not a requirement for your wholeness. Their absence is a space for your own growth, not a confirmation of your inadequacy. This is the love of the awakened soul. It is a love that honors sovereignty. It recognizes the divine spark in another and bows to it, without seeking to diminish it or control it for its own comfort. It is the understanding that two whole individuals, two complete gardens, can stand side by side and create a landscape more beautiful than either could alone, without ever needing to merge into one. The connection is not based on need, but on resonance, a shared frequency, a mutual desire to witness and support each other's expansion. There is no jealousy because there is no ownership. There is no fear of loss because you understand that what is truly yours can never be taken away. And what is not meant for you will always fall away, no matter how tightly you grasp. This love is not passive. It is fiercely protective, not of the other person, but of the sacred space between you. It is a commitment to truth, to authenticity, to showing up as your most honest self and allowing the other to do the same. It is the courage to have difficult conversations, to speak your needs without apology, and to hear theirs without defensiveness. It is the wisdom to know when to hold on and when to let go. Not letting go of the person, but letting go of the outcome. Letting go of the need for them to be anything other than who they are in this moment. The moment you realize love was never about possession, you finally understand what it means to be free. You are free from the exhausting work of managing another person's emotions. You are free from the anxiety of trying to be enough. You are free from the heartbreak of unmet expectations. You release the other person from the impossible burden of making you happy, and in doing so, you reclaim your own power. You become the source of your own joy, the anchor of your own peace, the architect of your own fulfillment. And from this place of profound self-possession, you can finally offer a love that is pure, unconditional, and truly liberating. A love that does not say, "I need you to be mine," but rather, "I am here to witness your becoming." This is the love that heals. This is the love that transforms. This is the love that sets everything and everyone free. The journey to this understanding is not linear. It is a spiral, a dance of remembering and forgetting. There will be days when the old fears creep back in, when the ghost of possession whispers in your ear. You will see a new person in their life and feel the familiar sting of comparison. You will hear a song that reminds you of a promise and feel the ache of what was lost. In these moments, you must be gentle with yourself. You are unlearning a lifetime of conditioning. You are detoxing from a cultural addiction to codependence. The work is to simply notice the feeling without becoming it, to witness the fear without letting it drive you, to breathe into the ache and remind yourself of the deeper truth you now know. You are not a half searching for its missing piece. You are a whole, learning to love from a place of fullness. You start to see your past relationships not as failures, but as sacred assignments. Each person was a teacher, a mirror reflecting back to you the places where you were not yet free. The one who was emotionally unavailable taught you to find emotional fulfillment within yourself. The one who was critical taught you to approve of yourself unconditionally. The one who left taught you the most important lesson of all, that you can survive anything. That your heart, no matter how many times it breaks, has an infinite capacity to heal and to love again, more deeply, more consciously than ever before. You begin to feel gratitude for the pain, for it was the pressure that turned your coal into a diamond. It was the fire that burned away everything that was not love. This shift in perspective changes everything. You no longer enter relationships with a hidden agenda of need. You are not looking for someone to rescue you, to complete you, or to validate your existence. Instead, you are looking for a partner in consciousness, a fellow traveler on the path of awakening, someone with whom you can share the beauty of your own inner world and who is willing to share theirs with you. The connection is not a merger but an alliance of two sovereign souls. You are there to celebrate each other, to challenge each other, to hold space for each other's growth, but never to possess each other. The relationship becomes a spiritual practice, a dojo where you both learn to love more divinely. You find that the less you try to control, the more beautiful the dance becomes. You allow for space, for silence, for mystery. You don't need to know their every thought or track their every move. You trust them, not because you are naive, but because you trust yourself. You trust in your ability to handle whatever comes. You trust that you are worthy of a love that is freely given, not coerced or demanded. You trust in the intelligence of the universe, knowing that it will always bring you the experiences and connections that serve your highest evolution. This trust is the bedrock of non-possessive love. It is a deep, unwavering faith in yourself, in the other, and in the flow of life itself. And then one day you look at someone you love and you feel it. A wave of affection so pure, so vast, it has no agenda. It wants nothing. It simply is. You see their flaws, their struggles, their humanity, and you love them not in spite of it, but because of it. You want their happiness, even if it doesn't include you. You want their freedom, even if it means they walk away. You are no longer attached to the form of the relationship, but to the essence of the connection. And in that moment, you know you have arrived. You have finally understood the secret that all the mystics and poets have tried to tell us for centuries. That true love is an act of liberation. It is the art of holding on with an open hand. It is the profound and simple realization that the only thing you can ever truly possess is your own soul. And by possessing yourself fully, you become capable of a love that can embrace the entire universe without needing to own a single part of it. This is the love that makes you whole. This is the love that was always your birthright. The love that was never about possession, but about the glorious, terrifying, and sacred act of setting another soul, and your own, completely and utterly free. The landscape of your heart changes. Where there were once territories to be claimed and borders to be defended, there is now an open meadow. It is a space of welcome, not of conquest. You realize that your past attempts to possess another were born from a deep-seated scarcity mindset, a belief that love was a finite resource, something to be hoarded and protected lest it run out. You feared that if your partner gave their time, their attention, or their affection to anyone or anything else, there would be less for you. This fear created a constant state of low-grade anxiety, a need for vigilance and reassurance. You were a sentry at the gates of your own heart, checking credentials, questioning motives, always on the lookout for a threat. It was exhausting. Now you operate from a place of abundance. You understand that love is not a pie to be divided, but a current that flows through you. The more you give, the more you have. Your heart is not a container with a limited capacity. It is a conduit connected to an infinite source. When you love from this place, you can celebrate your partner's friendships, their passions, their individual growth. Their joy does not diminish yours, it amplifies it. Their expansion does not threaten you, it inspires you. You are no longer two small kingdoms negotiating a fragile peace treaty. You are two sovereign nations with open borders, engaged in a rich and joyful exchange of culture, wisdom, and resources. This shift transforms the very nature of intimacy. Before, intimacy was about merging, about losing yourself in the other to escape the discomfort of your own being. It was about fusion, a desperate attempt to close the gap between me and you. Now, intimacy is about connection between two distinct whole selves. It is the profound act of being fully seen and fully accepted in your uniqueness, and offering the same to another. It is the courage to stand in your truth, even if it creates distance, and the trust that true connection can withstand that distance. The most intimate moments are no longer the ones where you feel like you are one, but the ones where you feel the sacredness of your two-ness, the awe of witnessing another soul in all its magnificent, separate glory. You learn to distinguish between love and attachment. Attachment is the ego's counterfeit of love. It is rooted in fear and need. It says, I need you to be a certain way for me to feel okay. Love, on the other hand, is the soul's expression. It is rooted in freedom and acceptance. It says, I see you as you are and I honor your journey. Attachment clings. Love holds space. Attachment contracts. Love expands. Attachment seeks to control the future. Love resides in the present moment. The pain you experienced in past relationships was not the pain of love. It was the pain of attachment being threatened. It was the ego screaming in terror as its source of validation began to slip away. When you realize this, you stop blaming love for your suffering. You see that love was never the culprit. It was the remedy you were refusing to take. This new understanding of love ripples out into all areas of your life. You become a better friend, a more present parent, a more compassionate colleague. You no longer place impossible demands on the people around you. You allow them to be who they are without trying to fix them, change them, or make them responsible for your happiness. You become a sanctuary for others, a place where they can be their authentic selves without fear of judgment or condemnation. Your very presence becomes a permission slip for others to be free. And in granting this freedom to others, you find that you have solidified it for yourself. The fear of being alone dissolves. It is replaced by an appreciation for solitude. You recognize that being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is the pain of being disconnected from yourself. Solitude is the joy of being connected to yourself. You begin to cherish your time alone, using it to recharge, to reflect, to create, to listen to the whispers of your own soul. Your own company becomes a source of pleasure and nourishment. And because you are no longer running from yourself, you are no longer desperately seeking someone to hide with. You can enter into connection not as a refugee seeking asylum, but as an ambassador seeking to share the riches of your own inner kingdom. You also redefine your understanding of commitment. Previously, commitment was a promise to stay, no matter what. It was a contract based on obligation and longevity. Now, you see that true commitment is not to the other person, but to the process of conscious relationship itself. It is a commitment to showing up with honesty and vulnerability, a commitment to communicating with kindness and respect, a commitment to doing your own inner work and taking responsibility for your own triggers. It is a commitment to supporting each other's growth, even when it is uncomfortable. The focus shifts from the duration of the relationship to the quality of the connection in each present moment. A relationship that lasts a lifetime in a state of quiet desperation is not a success. A relationship that lasts only a season but facilitates profound healing and growth in both individuals is a sacred gift. This release from the prison of possession allows you to love more deeply, more fiercely, more authentically than you ever thought possible. Because now, your love is not conditional. It is not dependent on the other person's behavior. It is not a transaction where you give in order to get. It is a pure, unadulterated expression of your own being. You love because it is your nature to love. You love because it feels good to love. You love because in the act of loving another, you experience the divine within yourself. This love is indestructible. It cannot be diminished by distance, by conflict, or even by the ending of a relationship. It is a state of being that you carry within you, a light that illuminates your path wherever you go. You look back at the person you used to be, the one who clung so tightly, who feared so deeply, and you feel a wave of compassion. You do not judge that version of yourself. You honor them. You recognize that they were doing the best they could with the tools and the consciousness they had at the time. Their pain was real. Their fear was valid. They were the catalyst for your awakening. You gather that younger self into your arms and you thank them for their struggle, for their tenacity, for holding on so tightly until you were ready to learn the lesson of letting go. You integrate them into your being, not as a source of shame, but as a testament to your resilience and your capacity for growth. And so you walk through the world differently. Your energy is lighter. Your heart is open. You are no longer searching for love because you have become it. You are a walking, breathing embodiment of the truth that love is not something you get from others, but something you are. And when you meet another who has also done this work, who also understands this truth, the connection is effortless. It is a recognition of souls, a homecoming. There is no game playing, no manipulation, no need to prove your worth. There is only a deep, quiet, and profound sense of peace, a feeling of two rivers flowing side by side, each in its own channel but both heading towards the same ocean. And you realize that this freedom, this sovereignty, this profound respect for the mystery of another soul, this is what you were searching for all along. Not a possession to be owned, but a presence to be honored. Not a cage to be locked, but a wing to be celebrated as it takes flight. The moment you realize love was never about possession is the moment you truly begin to live. This path of conscious love requires a radical form of honesty, especially with oneself. You must be willing to look at the shadows of your own heart, the need for control, the fear of inadequacy, the impulse to manipulate. This is not about self-flagellation, but about compassionate awareness. You see these patterns not as who you are, but as strategies a younger, wounded part of you adopted to feel safe. The healer archetype within you steps forward. You learn to parent this inner child, to offer it the security and validation it has been seeking from others. You say to it, "I am here. I will not abandon you. You are safe. You are enough." As you heal this primary relationship with yourself, your external relationships begin to reflect this newfound inner security. The sage archetype also awakens. You start to see the bigger picture, the spiritual curriculum underlying your human experiences. You recognize that every relationship is a mirror, showing you exactly what you need to learn. The person who triggers you the most is often your greatest teacher. They are pushing the buttons connected to your deepest wounds, giving you the opportunity to heal them once and for all. Instead of blaming them for your reaction, you learn to thank them for the lesson. You use the trigger as a breadcrumb trail leading you back to the source of your pain, the original belief system that is ready to be dismantled. The question shifts from, "Why are they doing this to me?" to, "What is this showing me about myself?" This perspective transforms conflict. Before, an argument was a battle to be won, a chance to prove you were right and they were wrong. It was about defending your ego. Now, conflict becomes an opportunity for deeper intimacy and understanding. You learn to listen not just to the words being said, but to the emotions underneath them. You learn to speak your truth without making the other person wrong. You see the argument not as a sign that the relationship is failing, but as a sign that two people care enough to work through something difficult together. The goal is no longer to win, but to connect, to find a solution that honors both of your needs, to emerge on the other side with more compassion and respect for each other. You also develop a new relationship with expectations. In the past, you had a long list of unspoken expectations for your partner. You expected them to read your mind, to anticipate your needs, to always say and do the right thing. When they inevitably failed to live up to this impossible standard, you felt disappointed, resentful, and let down. Now, you learn to trade your expectations for appreciation. You release the other person from the job of being your everything, and you focus on what they do bring to your life. You express gratitude for their kindness, their humor, their support. and for the needs they cannot meet, you learn to meet them yourself or to seek them from a wider community of friends and family. You stop trying to get water from a dry well, and you learn to cultivate a lush and diverse inner landscape. This doesn't mean you lower your standards. In fact, your standards become higher, but they shift from a checklist of external qualities to a requirement for a certain level of consciousness. Your non-negotiables are no longer about height, income, or hobbies. They are about kindness, integrity, emotional maturity, and a shared commitment to growth. You are no longer willing to build a life with someone who is not doing their own inner work. You understand that you cannot drag someone to a level of consciousness they are not ready for. You can love them from a distance. You can wish them well, but you cannot sacrifice your own peace for the sake of a connection that is not aligned. The lover archetype within you is reborn. This is not the wounded lover who needs another to feel whole, but the awakened lover who loves from a place of fullness. This lover is passionate, not just about a person, but about life itself. They find beauty everywhere. They experience sensuality in the simplest of pleasures. Their love is a creative force, an energy that flows through them and animates everything they do. When they are in a relationship, their love is a gift, not a debt. They are not loving to get something in return. They are loving because the act of loving is its own reward. It is the highest expression of their being. This journey changes your very definition of a successful relationship. Society taught you that success meant forever, a linear progression from dating to marriage to growing old together. Anything less was a failure. You now see this as a painfully limited view. You understand that a relationship's success is not measured in years, but in the depth of transformation it inspires. Some of the most successful relationships are the ones that end because they served their purpose perfectly. They cracked you open, they taught you what you needed to learn, and then they gracefully concluded, allowing both people to move forward as more evolved versions of themselves. You learn to honor the completion of a cycle with as much reverence as you honor the beginning. The fear of being hurt, which once governed all your decisions, begins to lose its power. You accept that to love is to be vulnerable. To open your heart is to risk having it broken. There is no way around this. But you are no longer willing to let that fear keep you in a cage. You have touched a love that is bigger than your fear, a love that is worth the risk. And you have developed a deep and abiding trust in your own resilience. You know that even if your heart breaks, you have the capacity to heal. You have the tools. You have the wisdom. You are no longer a fragile child at the mercy of another's actions. You are a powerful creator, capable of turning any pain into a work of art, any wound into a source of wisdom. You walk through the world with an open heart, not because it is safe, but because it is the only way to truly live. You offer your love freely without attachment, like the sun offers its light. You understand that the love you give is never wasted. It blesses the person who receives it, and it returns to you tenfold, not necessarily from the same person, but from the universe itself. You have cracked the code. You have solved the riddle. The moment you realize love was never about possession is the moment you become a living embodiment of love itself. And from that sacred space, you are finally free to create and receive the kinds of connections your soul has always yearned for. Connections based not on need, but on freedom. Not on fear, but on trust. Not on possession, but on the pure, unadulterated celebration of two souls choosing to walk together, for as long as it is meant to be. The final layer of this realization is perhaps the most profound. It is the understanding that the love you were seeking from another was always a reflection of the love you were withholding from yourself. The deep longing to be chosen, to be seen, to be cherished by another, was the cry of your own soul, begging to be chosen, seen, and cherished by you. Every act of possessiveness, every jealous impulse, every anxious plea for reassurance was a symptom of this inner abandonment. You were looking for a home in another person, because you had not yet built a home within yourself. When this truth lands, it is not a moment of shame, but of liberation. It is the prodigal son returning. You finally stop the frantic external search and you turn your gaze inward. You begin a sacred courtship with your own being. You learn to listen to the subtle language of your body, the quiet whispers of your heart, the timeless wisdom of your soul. You start treating yourself with the same tenderness, patience, and devotion you once reserved for a romantic partner. You take yourself on dates. You write yourself love letters. You celebrate your own victories and you hold yourself with compassion through your struggles. You become your own beloved. This act of radical self-love is the key that unlocks everything. It fills the inner void that you were trying to plug with another person. As you fill yourself up with your own love, you cease to be a bottomless pit of need. You approach others not with an empty cup, begging for a few drops, but with a full cup overflowing with plenty to share. The energy shifts from desperation to magnetism. You are no longer chasing love. You are attracting it. And the love you attract is of a much higher quality, because it is a match for the love you have cultivated within. You realize that the cage you thought you were building for another was actually a cage you had built for yourself. Your happiness was trapped inside, contingent on their presence, their mood, their choices. By trying to control them, you had imprisoned your own peace of mind. The constant worry, the analysis, the strategic maneuvering, it was a full-time job that left you depleted and anxious. Letting go of possession is not just an act of generosity towards the other person. It is the ultimate act of self-liberation. You free yourself from the impossible task of managing the universe. You surrender, you trust, you allow, and in this surrender you find a peace that is more satisfying than any fleeting sense of control. This peace becomes your new compass. You make choices based on what nurtures this inner stillness, rather than what provides a temporary hit of validation or excitement. You might choose a quiet night over a party that drains your energy. You might end a conversation that devolves into gossip or negativity. You become fiercely protective of your inner state, not in a rigid, fearful way, but in a loving, self-honoring way. You understand that your energy is your most precious resource, and you are no longer willing to squander it on connections or situations that are not aligned with your highest good. Your perception of strength also undergoes a radical transformation. You once believed that strength was about being invulnerable, about never getting hurt, about having everything under control. You now see that true strength lies in the courage to be vulnerable, the power to sit with uncomfortable emotions without numbing or distracting yourself, the resilience to have your heart broken and to allow it to break open, revealing an even greater capacity to love. Strength is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in the face of fear. It is the quiet, unwavering commitment to keeping your heart open, even when it feels like the hardest thing in the world to do. The archetypal energies within you come into a beautiful, harmonious dance. The lover's passion is tempered by the sage's wisdom. The healer's compassion is guided by a fierce commitment to truth. You are no longer operating from a single, fragmented aspect of yourself, but from the integrated wholeness of your being. You are grounded yet expansive, gentle yet powerful, human yet divine. This integration is the hallmark of spiritual maturity. It is the foundation of conscious, non-possessive love. Ultimately, the moment you realize love was never about possession is the moment you come home to the truth of who you are. You are not a half-seeking completion. You are a whole, magnificent universe unto yourself. And the purpose of relationship is not to find someone to fill your empty spaces, but to find someone with whom you can share the vast, beautiful, and ever-expanding cosmos within. It is to find a fellow stargazer, someone who can look at the universe within you with the same awe and wonder that you see in them. The connection is not one of ownership, but of mutual recognition. A silent, soul-deep acknowledgement that says, I see you, I see the divine light within you, and I will do nothing to diminish it. I will only honor it, celebrate it, and create a safe space for it to shine as brightly as it possibly can. This is love. Not as a transaction, not as a contract, not as a possession, but as an offering, as a prayer, as the highest form of freedom. And once you have tasted this kind of love, you can never go back. You have been changed forever. You have been set free.